Okay, no? So, amendment na tayo ngayon. Basta tatandaan nyo, ang amendment pwedeng formal, pwedeng substantial. Pero tandaan nyo po, ang amendment, the subsequent charge involves the same attempted, frustrated, or necessarily includes or is necessarily included in the former charge. Actually, paiksiin natin to. Involves a charge. No? Yan. The subsequent charge, the subsequent charge no, involves a crime which necessarily includes or is necessarily included in the former charge. Yan, mas maganda pala. Meanwhile, for substitution, the subsequent charge is totally different from the former charge. Okay. So let's go to amendment, no? Preliminary rules for amendment, no? So ito yung mga initial nating mga principles, no? Let's make it simple. Let's make things simple kasi po ang amendment, medyo complicated yung paragraphs dyan sa section 14 kasi maraming mga pertinent phrases, no? Okay, na correlated. Okay, so pag po tinakil natin ng amendment, we need to subgroup din, no? We need to subgroup the principles. Ang una pong grupo dyan, before plea at saka after plea. Okay. So ano po yung mga principles for before plea? So as a rule, amendment is allowed, whether formal or substantial pag before plea. Okay? Now, there are limited instances where amendment before plea is not allowed, whether it is formal or substantial. So, ang general rule is pwede kang mag-amendment. Pwede kang mag-amend ng information, formal man yan or substantial. We will learn later on what's the meaning of a formal amendment and what's the meaning of a substantial amendment. Okay. Next, there are instances where amendment before plea can be done without prior leave of court. Okay. And there are also instances where amendment must be done, amendment before plea must be done with prior leave of court. Okay. Now, after plea, as a rule, amendment is only allowed if it is formal. Pag nakapag-plead na, nag-plead ng not guilty. Oh. After po nun, only formal amendments can be done dun sa information. Hindi na pwede ang substantial because it would violate the right of the accused against double jeopardy, which makes sense kasi nga sinumpaan niya na yun eh. Not guilty ako dito sa crime na chinarge mo sa akin. And then later on, babaguhin mo, iibahin mo yung theory mo. Di ba? Unfair yun. Di ba? Unfair. And it violates yung right against double jeopardy of the accused. How? Kasi po, nag-plea na. Kapag inamed mo yun, that is tantamount to an acquittal. Tapos yung amended information, that is considered as a new charge. Okay? So yung initial mong charge, sabihin natin yung initial mong theory. May theory ka. Nag-plead dun ng not guilty yung accused. O after 1 week, babaguhin mo. Pag binago mo yun, yung initial na charge, ulitin ko, deemed acquitted na yung accused doon. Kasi nga binago mo eh. Di ba? O ngayon yung new charge, assuming that it is necessarily included or it necessarily includes the initial charge, that would be considered as second jeopardy na. Okay. So, ala naman problema pag may mistake eh. Pag may mistake, talagang totally separate and distinct sila, hindi sila related crimes. No problem, tuloy ang kaso dun sa next charge. Oh. Pero pag yan, included, patay tayo dyan. Patay tayo dyan. Kasi yung next information na yun, yung amended information, that is considered as second jeopardy. No? So, the right against double jeopardy would be violated. Kaya, absuelto na po yung accused in that scenario. So, pag after plea, as a general rule, we cannot make substantial amendments. However, there is a limited instance where a substantial amendment is allowed even after plea. We will tackle that later. Okay? Now, no? Further, no, even if the amendment after plea is formal in nature, It would also be prohibited if it would prejudice the rights of the accused. What I mean by this is, even if formal po yung amendment after plea, bawal pa din yan if it would prejudice the rights of the accused. We will also learn this later on. How do we illustrate this one? By the way, ito po pala, no, yung prejudice the rights of the accused, specifically mentioned dyan sa section 14. Kaya ako sinasabi na medyo technical, medyo complicated ang discussion sa amendment kasi maraming mga pertinent uh, phrases that we need to organize properly para hindi tayo maguluhan. No? Kasi tama nga naman, may before plea, may after plea, may leave of court, may without leave of court, may formal amendment, may substantial amendment, di ba? So, 6. Tapos meron pang prejudice to the rights of the accused, 7. Masyadong madaming moving parts. Tapos meron pa mga exceptions, may limited instances pa, 8. Di ba? 8 and 9. No? Okay. So, sa pag po amendment after plea in all instances po, whether formal or substantial, prior leave of court is necessary. Bakit po? Kasi kailangan ma-make sure ng court that itong amendment na gustong gawin ni prosecutor hindi substantial. So kailangan humingi ka ng abiso sa court, di ba? To make sure na wala pong violation ng rights na mangyayari. Okay, kaya hihingi ka talaga ng pahintulot sa court kahit na typographical error lang, na mali lang ng instead na yung Cortez letter Z, letter S pala, kahit mga ganun lang. You need to seek approval from the court. Okay. So, i-breakdown natin mas ano no, mas simple, no. So, I'm gonna share the whiteboard, no. This calls for the whiteboard. Okay. So, 'di ba? Amendment versus substitution. Ito included, 'di ba? Included, that's the important term there. Ito different, that's the important word there, no? Bakit sa different? Kasi it does not necessarily include, not necessarily included in. Okay. So ngayon dito tayo sa amendment, no? Okay. Amendment tayo ngayon. Mayroong before plea, mayroong after plea. After plea, before plea. Okay, let's go to the next slide, no? Next board, no? So before plea, no? Before, after. So dito sabi, general rule, formal allowed, substantial allowed. Dito naman, general rule, formal allowed, substantial not allowed. Okay. Exception, no? Ano exception dito? No amendment at all. May akong pagkakataon na ganyan. Allowed, no? Ito naman exception, substantial is allowed. Okay. So yan po yung unang dalawang comparison, no? Next tayo. May isa pa pala, no? Formal, hindi rin allowed if it would prejudice the rights, di ba? Of the accused. No? So, yan po, no? General rule, formal allowed, substantial allowed. General rule, formal allowed, substantial prohibited. Exception is no amendment at all, whether formal or substantial. Sa after plea naman, may dalawang exceptions, no, magkaiba. Pwedeng i-allow ang substantial amendment, isa naman, bawal ang formal. So basically ito, opposite niyan at saka opposite nito. Okay? Yan. O, next tayong topic na pagkakaiba. Sometimes, leave of court. Sometimes, without leave. Okay. Ito naman, leave lang always. No? Without leave, hindi pwede. No? Yan po, tatlong pagkakaiba niyan. Okay? Yan, no? Make it simple, no? So, sa before, may pagkakataong leave of court, may pagkakataong without leave of court. Sa after, leave of court lang palagi. Hindi po magkakaroon ng without leave of court sa after plea. Kailangan i-approve lagi ng court kasi we need to make sure na hindi substantial amendment yung gagawin ng prosecution. So, hindi mababiolate yung rights ng akusado. Okay, let's go back to the Word document, no? Sige. Yeah, no? What is a formal amendment, no? Marami pong description na sinabi yung ating Supreme Court, no, sa mga numerous cases. May isa pa nga tinanggal ko na, no? Kasi masyado nang hahaba, no? So ito po yung mga ano, no, ito yung mga instances where an amendment is formal in nature, no? If it does not change the nature of the crime alleged, if it does not expose the accused to a charge which could call for a higher penalty, if it does not affect the essence of the offense or cause surprise or deprive the accused of an opportunity to meet the new averment. Diba? Medyo wordy, no? Next, if the new allegations, no, only relate to the range of the penalty, an amendment which does not charge another offense different or distinct from that charge in the original one, additional allegations which do not alter the prosecution's theory of the case so as to cause surprise to the accused and affect the form of defense he has or will assume, an amendment which does not adversely affect any substantial right of the accused such as his right to invoke prescription. Ako po sa inyo, no? Personal tip ko lang. Personal tip. Tip ko lang. Ito gamitin nyo. Kasi medyo parang isa yung pinaka-wide. Broad ang scope. No? An amendment is formal if it does not alter the prosecution's theory of the case. Kasi pag binago mo yung nature ng crime, you altered your theory. If you expose the accused to a higher penalty, you altered your theory. Diba? If you charge another offense different and distinct, you altered your theory and so on. So kung ako sa inyo, ito gagamitin ko. An amendment is formal if it does not alter the prosecution's theory of the case. Yun ang ano nyo dapat, compass nyo. Ito bang amendment na sinasabi dito sa factual case, sa factual circumstance na tinanong sa akin, does this alter the theory of the prosecution with respect to the current or the present accused or hindi? Yun. Inalter ba ng prosecution yung theory niya with respect to those who are currently accused or who are the present accused? Tumaas ba yung magiging penalty nila? Nagbago ba yung crime charge against them? Ganun lang naman lagi eh. No? Nagkaroon ba ng ibang qualifying circumstance yan? Yung mga ganun. Okay? Nagdagdag ba ng aggravating circumstance yan? Ganun. Okay? In all of these scenarios, no, syempre, pag dinagdagan mo ng aggravating yan, substantial amendment yun. Kasi magiging maximum period na yan eh. Pag qualifying, dinabago yung crime. Kasi it qualifies the crime. That's a new crime. Diba? Tumaas yung penalty. Diba? Okay. So you get the point, no? Sige. Ano pa? Sa inverse naman tayo. Sa opposite. Tinanggal mo yung accused dun sa information. That's a substantial amendment. Kasi dati, makukonvict may pag-asa siyang, meron siyang possibility makonvict. Ngayon, wala na. Kasi di na siya akusado. O di absuelto na yun, di ba? O, yung mga ganyan. You altered the prosecution altered its theory, di ba, with regard to those who are presently accused. Sige. What is a substantial amendment? The opposite. Di ba? It does not alter the prosecution's theory, formal. It alters the prosecution's theory, substantial. Ganun kasimple. Ganito yung mga gusto kong definition eh. Parang sa real action saka sa personal action. A real action is an action involving title to or possession of real property or any interest therein. A personal action is the opposite of real action. So, it is an action not involving title to or possession of real property or any interest therein. Same thing dito. Sige. Examples, no? Nabanggit ko na yung iba. A correction of a typographical error is a formal amendment. Bakit ulit? Tatanungin ka, why? Kasi this does not alter the prosecution's theory. Ito pala gusto kong i-ano sa inyo, i-differentiate, no? An inclusion of another accused as a co-conspirator is a formal amendment, while the exclusion of a co-accused from the information is a substantial amendment. Let's go back to the whiteboard. No? Why? Why o why? No? Okay. Pag kasi inclusion, di ba, sabihin natin, ang crime is people versus A. O ngayon nag-amend. Ginawang people versus A and B na. Naapektuhan ba yung ano? Naapektuhan ba si A? Hindi, kasi siya rin naman ang accused siya dito. Accused din naman siya dito sa amended information. Di ba? With respect to him, the theory was not altered. Di ba? Kasi kung conspirator yan, pati pareho lang naman pala siyang principal. Di ba? Principal before, principal now. O din, formal amendment. Di ba? Formal amendment. Ganun kasimple. O next naman tayo, di ba? People versus A ulit. People versus A and B. O later on, inamin, naging people versus A na lang. That's a substantial amendment kasi si B, dati, ang theory mo, makukulong, ngayon hindi na. See? Finlip lang natin yung ano, nag-iba na yung sagot. Dapat ganyan ng ano, understanding natin talaga, ano? Kailangan gumagawa tayo ng example, like halimbawa, pag ganitong meron tayong pinagko-compare na principles, mas maganda kung yung examples talaga natin related. Related yung principles, kaya nga kino-correlate mo eh. Kaya nga nire-relate mo together eh, with each other. O di dapat yung example mo, related din. Di ba? Related din. O di ganyan, di ba? Pag in-include mo, ang present accused lang naman kasi si A eh. O di walang substantial amendment, formal lang kasi principal siya before, principal siya ngayon. Next, A and B. A. O yung principal dati, wala na ngayon. Di ba? O that is a substantial amendment. That's simple. Right? O, ganun. Check. Di ba? Okay, balik tayo ulit sa Word document. Okay. The downgrade The downgrade of the original charge is a substantial amendment. So dati murder naging homicide, that's a substantial amendment. Pero po pag upgrade, hindi po palaging substantial. May pagkakataong substantial, may pagkakataong formal amendment. Tingnan po natin. Let's eyes palaro. Mas sagad mo natin mas maganda. If the original charge is downgraded in the amended charge, this is substantial amendment. Yun. There is a substantial amendment. Okay. General rule, if the original charge is upgraded in the amended charge, the general rule is there is a substantial amendment. No? Example is, yung charge dati, homicide, ngayon ginawa ng murder. Diba? Obviously, substantial amendment. Yan, unang-una, bailable yung dating offense, ngayon non-bailable na. Okay, next. Exception, no? However, the amendment under Section 7, Rule 117 is a formal amendment. No? It is only a formal amendment because it does not affect any substantial right of the appellant. What am I talking about with this one? Tong formal amendment na to. Ito po yung doctrine of supervening facts. Doctrine of supervening facts. At saka itong discovered after. Okay? Sabi po sa Section 7, Rule 117, the conviction of the accused shall not be a bar to another prosecution. So another information, di ba? For an offense which necessarily includes the offense charged in the original information under any of the following circumstances or instances. First, the graver offense developed due to the supervening facts arising from the same act or omission constituting the former charge, or the facts constituting the graver offense became known or were discovered only after a plea was entered in the original complaint. Let's make it simple. The conviction of the accused, nagkaroon ng conviction dun sa original information. Okay? Hindi siya hadlang for another prosecution. That means another information. For a new offense. And this new offense necessarily includes the offense before. Ibig po sabihin, yung bagong charge, mas matindi, graver, dun sa dating ichinarge. Dun sa original charge. No? Under any of the following circumstances. So, ulit natin ang scenario dito. Yung unang charge, mas mababa kumpara dun sa bagong charge. Kasi the bagong charge necessarily includes the dating charge. At in this scenario po, yung doctrine of supervening facts at saka itong discovery, pwede pong mangyari yun. Kahit na may conviction na. Okay? So, ayan, no? Examples, no? Examples muna natin. Later on, idodrawing ulit natin sa whiteboard to summarize this one, no? An information was filed against A for physical injuries. During trial, the victim died. So the charge was amended to homicide. Is this a formal amendment? By the way, how does this happen? Sabihin natin, attorney, bakit hindi attempted homicide ang charge nung original information? Aba, baka nangyari yung Article 4, Paragraph 1, di ba? Criminal liability is incurred by any person committing a felony, although the wrongful act be different from that which he intended. O di physical injuries lang yung nakomit talaga, nagkaroon ng komplikasyon na matay, you're liable for homicide. Di ba? Kahit na ang intent mo is just to injure the person. Kasi nga, Article 4, Paragraph 1, praeter intentionem yan. Di ba? So, malalaman nyo later on sa lecture sa CRIM 1, no? An information was filed against Mr. A for physical injuries. O yun, nagkaroon ng plea, nagkaroon ng arraignment, not guilty daw siya. Nung nasa trial na, namatay yung biktima. Attorney, pwede ko bang baguhin yung charge? Pwede. Kasi Section 7, Rule 117, the graver offense, the homicide, it developed due to the supervening facts. So the supervening facts, namatay sa ospital, arising from the same act or omission. What's that same act or omission? Yung pambubugbog dun sa offended party, which constituted the former charge. Kasi nga, yung former charge is physical injuries. Pasok na pasok. Diba? Attorney, hindi po ba mistake ito? Tandaan nyo, hindi. Kasi sa mistake ulit, ibibilog ulit natin na, i-circle back. Hindi siya mistake kasi sa mistake nga, entirely separate and distinct. Dito po, necessarily included. Nakasulat na nga sa Section 7 eh. Amendment yan. Di ba, attorney, dapat mistake? Nagkamali, no? Kasi dapat ang charge pala, homicide. Is that a mistake? It's not. It's not a mistake because mistake happens when the charges are entirely separate and distinct. Amendment happens if inclusion. Okay? Necessarily included. Okay. Sana po malinaw, no? Talagang kinorelate na natin lahat para makita nyo yung pagsanga-sanga, no? Okay. So you get the point, di ba? Yes, because the graver offense developed due to supervening facts arising from the same act or omission constituting the former charge. Actually, wag tanggalin natin omission. Same act lang. Crime, ano yun eh. Hindi naman crime by omission ng physical injuries saka homicide. Okay. Next. An information was filed against Mr. A for malversation of public funds in a span of 5 years in the amount of 49 million pesos. Ibig po sabihin, sa loob ng 5 taon, nakakuha sa gobyerno si Mr. A ng 49 million pesos. After plea, the prosecution discovered that Mr. A actually embezzled 2 million pesos more. So magiging 51 million na. Is this a formal amendment? No? Kulang to. Thus, no? The charge was amended to plunder. Yung pala kulang, no? Kasi 51 million na. Pasok na siya. Di ba? Thus, the charge was amended to plunder. Is this a formal amendment? Yes, ulit. Because the facts constituting the graver offense became known or were discovered only after a plea was entered. Okay. So, paano po natin i-apply ulit, no? What's the first charge? Malversation. Is malversation necessarily included in plunder? Yes, it's necessarily included. And ibabar ba natin yung amendment ng information para maging plunder? No. Kasi sa second, papasok na instance, no? The facts. What are the facts constituting the grave offense? Yung 2 million piso pang ninakaw nakita. Were discovered yung 2 million piso, 2 million pesos, after na siyang mag-plea dun sa original charge of malversation. Hindi po magiging hadlang yan para gawing plunder. Plunder yan. Okay? See the point? And even if we extend this to conviction, na convict na siya sa malversation, sabihin natin, oh, nakakulong na sa bilibid, natagpuan may 2 million pa. Pwede bang magkaroon ng another prosecution? Yes. Yes. Kasi, pasok eh. Nakalagay naman sa Section 7, conviction eh. Hindi naman sinabing trial lang, di ba? Pwede. No? Another uling labanan niya. Plunder na ngayon. Which is tama. No? Kasi syempre, hindi ganun kataas yung penalty imposed. Di ba? Okay. Hindi siya, hindi siya, yung penalty na ma-impose sa kanya, hindi siya equivalent dun sa talagang na-commit niya. Same thing po dito sa doctrine of supervening facts. Napatay mo yung tao, hindi ikaw. Napatay nung accused yung tao, tapos physical injuries lang yung conviction. Diba? Pwede talagang magkaroon ng another prosecution, another filing of the information. Sana po malinaw. No? Okay. So yan, no, let's recap na. Balik tayo ulit doon, no? So whiteboard ulit. Okay. No? So next slide, no? Next board pala, sorry. Next board. Ayan. So, ang sabi natin dito, amendment, 'di ba? Amendment 'to. So may ano no, may tatlong senaryo, no? If downgrade, all instances po substantial 'yan, walang exceptions. Pag dinowngrade ang offense from murder to homicide, all the time substantial amendment 'yan. Okay? Paano pag upgrade, no? General rule, substantial. Obvious reason. Obvious naman 'yan, 'di ba? Dati theft lang ginawa mong robbery. Substantial. Substantial. O, ano yung exceptions? Dalawa, no? Number one, supervening facts at saka number two, discovered after. Yan. Okay? O, sige. Bakit natin kailangan i-differentiate? Well, para alam natin kung ano yung substantial saka formal, no? Formal lang to. Kaya din pala natin kailangan i-differentiate to. Important ito din mamaya pala sa ano. This is gonna be an important matter din sa amendment after plea. No? Kasi formal amendment to eh. No? So, amendment before plea to muna, di ba? Ayan. So, magiging important to later on sa amendment after plea. No? We will go back to this later. No? Para makita nyo yung kabilang side naman. Kaya sabi ko sa inyo, para di tayo malito, itackle natin siya one at a time. Pag nagbasa kayo sa exam nyo ng facts, one at a time. Tingnan nyo muna, pag ganitong tanong sa inyo, amendment or substitution, tingnan nyo muna kung before plea or after plea. And then, we segregate from there. Okay, before plea. Kalimutan ko ni after plea ng mga principles. After plea. Kalimutan ko ni lahat ng principles na before plea. Mistake. Kalimutan ko ni amendment at all. Ganun po ang style sa remedial law. Kung medyo complex talaga yung principles at talagang highly correlated sila at nakaka-confuse, your remedy, ang solution mo dyan is mode of exclusion. You exclude what's not needed. Ano? Anyway, I'm here to help you para nga makita nyo kung ano yung mga magkakahanay na. Pag magkasagot na kayo sa exam, kayo na bahala kung paano nyo i-analyze. Ano yung kailangan kong tanggalin sa isip ko to answer this question? Ano yung kailangan ko i-include? Okay, sige. Let's move to the next topic. So, share natin ulit yung document. Okay. Amendment before plea and prior leave of court. So, as a general rule, an amendment before plea does not require prior leave of court. Kasi nga, wala pa naman plea. Diba? Yun namang, wala pa namang sumpa na ginagawa yung accused, no? Your Honor, guilty or not guilty, wala pa, no? Wala pa. So, pwede pang i-amend. Even without leave of court, without court of approval. May exceptions po tayo ulit. Nasa section 40 naman yan, dalawa. No? Any amendment before plea that downgrades the nature of the offense charge, no? In the information, in the complaint or information, or excludes any accused from the complaint or information can only be made upon motion by the prosecutor, notice to the offended party, and with leave of court. Bakit? Para po maprotektahan din natin yung yung rights naman nung para maprotektahan naman natin yung interest, hindi pala rights, yung interest ng offended party. Kasi pag in-exclude mo yung isang accused dyan, hindi na makukulong. Di ba? Pag dinowngrade mo yung offense, baka dati non-bailable, naging bailable na ngayon. So, kailangan din humingi sa court ng approval para makita na, na syempre, tama yung ginagawa. Tama yung ginagawa. Kasi ba't ida-downgrade mo kung talagang right naman yung ginawa? Ba't mo gagawing acts of lasciviousness? Ba't mo tatanggalin yung isang accused from the information kung talaga namang kasali siya doon, lookout siya, o siya yung nag-aabang doon sa pintuan, o siya yung naghawak ng kamay para hindi makalaban yung offended party? Why would you exclude him? Diba? So, kailangan po ng leave of court, kailangan ng notice to the offended party. By the way, both scenarios po, substantial amendments yan. Dinowngrade mo, substantial amendment. In-exclude mo, substantial amendment. Okay. So, tapos na tayo dyan, no? So, simple lang, no? So, ilan na po yung principles natin so far na natatakel, no? So, una, yung preliminary matters muna. Preliminary rules, no? Preliminary matters na lang. Rules, no? Okay. Next, natin tinakel. Differentiate formal and substantial amendment. Next, ito, mga subtopics dito, tinakil na rin natin, no? Is, pag ba dinowngrade, substantial o substantial o formal? Pag ba nag-upgrade, substantial o formal? Okay. Next, principle na tinakil natin. Leave of court. Needed ba o not needed? Next na principle natin itatakel is when the information cannot be amended before plea. So ito po yung exception na ng kahalahatan. Ang sabi natin, as a general rule, pwedeng mag-amend before plea, whether formal or substantial. Pero meron pong dalawang instances kung saan hindi talaga pwedeng mag-amend at all. Okay, so ano po yung una? The information is void ab initio. Next, the amendment vests jurisdiction to the court. Okay. So, simulan po natin sa the information is void ab initio, no? Example, if the information is filed by an unauthorized official such as an official who is not a public prosecutor, no? Like a private complainant, or even public officers who are not authorized by law to file the information. Ba't ba unauthorized official to? Unauthorized person. Okay. Or even public officers who are not authorized by law to file the information. Okay. So ganito, unauthorized person, private complainant. Sabihin natin, kailangan ng PI, i-file agad sa court. Void ab initio information na yun. Ano personality mo to file? Diba? O even public officers who are not authorized by law to file the information, example, police. Ba't na ipa-file yan? Kailangan ng PI. Ba't na ipa-file ng agad-agad sa court? In both of these instances, void ab initio po ang information. Then, the information is invalid from the very beginning and the court should motu proprio dismiss the case, even without any motion to dismiss, because such kind of information cannot confer upon the court jurisdiction over the case. So, ibig po sabihin nito, dismiss po ang kaso. So, ngayon, sabihin natin, ang nag-file, idiniretsa sa court. Sabihin natin, ang nag-RTC po yung kaso dapat ipa-file, no? Sabihin natin homicide. Ang ginawa nung private complainant, dinirect filing yung kaso sa RTC. Tapos later on, sabi nung, pwedeng hingguluhin ng ganyan. Sabi nung private offended party, Your Honor, di po pwedeng tataka na lang nung prosecutor yan. Tatataka na lang po ng prosecutor, city prosecutor, yung information na final o yung complaint na final to remedy the defect, di ba? Para po ngayon authorized na po siya, may tatak na ng city prosecutor. O de okay na po, no? Tama ba 'yun? Is that an amendment? Is that a permissible amendment? Is that an amendment that can be allowed under the rules? No. Kasi po yung paglalagay po ng tatak, pirma at saka date nung prosecutor, that is considered an amendment. Diba? In-amend mo eh. Di ba? Naglagay ka ng bagong feature dyan sa information eh. Is this amendment allowed? No. Kasi the information is void ab initio. Okay? Informations filed by the PCGG. Oh, ayan. Tama pala dito yan. Oh. And not the office of the ombudsman are null and void for lack of authority on the part of the PCGG to file the same. No? Kasi pag plunder ang kaso, ang may hawak, plunder ang kaso against, sabihin natin, against a congressman, against a senator, against a former president, against a vice president. Ang humahawak po ng kaso, ang prosecutor natin, si ombudsman through the special prosecutor. So, kung magkakaroon po ng information, ang magpa-file po dapat si ombudsman. Pag si PCGG ang nag-file, edi para siyang unauthorized person or a public officer who is not authorized by the law to file the information kung sino man yung tao sa PCGG na nag-file ng information. So that is also an information na void ab initio. So, hindi pwedeng i-amend na later on, lalagyan ko na lang po ng tatak ng ombudsman tapos pirma date. Hindi po pwede. The amendment cannot be allowed because there is a void ab initio information. Next, ito yung gusto kong i-discuss sa inyo. However, if the information is filed by the public prosecutor without the city prosecutor's approval, example po nito, yung investigating prosecutor ang diretsang nag-file sa court. Kasi iba po yung, pag nag-practice na po kayo, iba yung investigating prosecutor, iba po yung city prosecutor. No? May mga pagkakataon po siyempre na lahat yan uma-attend. Pag may hearing na, pag may trial na, uma-attend sila lahat. Pero po yung pirma, pagpipirma o yung pag-imbestiga sa, yung pag-conduct ng preliminary investigation, hindi po city prosecutor yan palagi. Normally, ibinibigay yan sa investigating prosecutor. O doon kayo magharap. O later on ngayon, pag sabi, tingin ng investigating prosecutor may probable cause, ibibigay niya sa city prosecutor yon for approval. O yung city prosecutor, yun po ang may final say kung ipa-file yung information o hindi. Yung investigating prosecutor, recommendation lang yan. Probable cause, prosec, mayroon kaming nahanap na probable cause. Si prosecutor, si city prosec, yung boss nila doon, yung boss nila, ang bahalang magsabi na, sige, may probable cause nga, file natin sa court. O pwedeng sabihin ni city prosec, hindi, walang probable cause. Wag natin i-file. Pwede rin mangyari yun. Kahit ano pa man yung sinabi ng investigating prosecutor. Ang ibig ko lang sabihin dyan, ang city prosecutor po ang may final say. Kung ipa-file ang information o hindi. Pag nanguna po si investigating prosecutor, mali din yun. Ngayon, sabihin natin si investigating prosecutor, i-final yung kaso sa trial court. Walang pirma ni city, walang approval, date, tatak ni city prosecutor. Wala. Question, pwede ba nating i-amend? The answer is yes. Okay? Ano po ang pinagkaiba nung una sa pangalawang example? Yung una nating example, private complainant or public officer not authorized by law to file the information such as a police officer. Next is, informations filed by the PCGG. Kasi ang kaso, pag ang humahawak ng kaso pag planter, hindi naman PCGG eh. Taga anong PCGG? Taga kalap ng ebidensya. Pero ang magpa-prosecute po niyan, ombudsman. Okay. So yun po. In both instances, unauthorized person po yung nag-file. Ito pong pangatlo nating instance, prosecutor po ang nag-file. Hindi lang nakuha yung approval ni City Prosec. Prosecutor ang nag-file, hindi lang po na-approval niya ni boss. Later on, pwede bang i-amend yan? Signifying na ngayon sa amendment yung approval ni boss. The answer is yes. Okay? The court should require the public prosecutor to seek the approval of the city prosecutor before arraignment. Otherwise, the case may be dismissed on the ground of lack of authority to file the information under Section 3, letter D. This ground may be raised at any stage of the proceeding. Ongkinko versus Sugiyama and People versus 2019. In short, no, this can be amended. In short, the information pala. The information can be amended to indicate the approval of the city prosecutor. Dito sa last instance na to. Circle back ulit natin. Attorney, ito po ba substantial amendment o formal amendment? Formal amendment. Because we're not changing the theory of the prosecution. Nilagyan lang natin ng tatak, pirma at saka date. No? Dry seal, tatak, pirma. Meron, approve na to ni City Prosec. Okay? Sana po malinaw. Okay. So, ayan, no? Whiteboard ulit. Sige, let's make it simpler pa, no? Let's make it simpler pa. So, ano ulit 'yon? So, there are, anyway, sige, sa unang muna tayo instance. So, amendment before plea. Not allowed. Not before plea is not allowed. Void ab initio information. Diba? Mamaya, tackle natin yung second. Ano yung tatlong instance natin? Unauthorized person. Salin natin PCGG dyan, di ba? Ay, di pala dyan. Wag pala dyan. Saka, public officer not authorized. Dito pala. To file. Info. Dito kasali PCGG. Di ba? So, in these scenarios, in these instances po, no amendment. Di ba? Pero, kapag investigating prosecutor, no city prosecutor approval, this can be amended. Why? Kasi prosecutor naman po yung nag-file eh. Di ba? Prosecutor naman yung nag-file. So, okay lang. Dito, hindi prosecutor ang nag-file. Dito, hindi prosecutor ang nag-file. Ongking ko case, no? Versus Sugiyama and people. Okay. Doon tayo sa next principle, no? Next exception. The amendment vests jurisdiction to the court, no? As example, no? Actually, an information was filed with the RTC for less serious physical injuries. Can the prosecutor amend the charge and make it serious physical injuries? No. Because the amendment would vest jurisdiction to the RTC. Kasi po, ang less serious physical injuries, wala pong jurisdiction ng RTC dyan. Wala, no? Kasi less than does not exceed 6 years ang prescribed penalty diyan for ng ng less serious physical injuries. So MTC yan, first level courts. Pag ginawa mong serious physical, pwede na maging RTC yan. May pagkakataong MTC pa din, may pagkakataong RTC na. Oh. With that being said, pwede mong i-amend? No. Because the amendment vests jurisdiction to the court. Kung mapapansin nyo, mayroon ng ganyan principle na na-cover sa civil procedure pero wag na natin paguluhin. May ganyan na ganyan ding nakasulat. Best jurisdiction to the court. Di ba? Okay. So, another example. Another example. Okay, wala. There you go. Oh. The prosecution filed an information with the RTC against Mr. A for less serious physical injuries inflicted to Mr. B. After 10 days in the hospital, Mr. B died due to blood clots caused by the injuries. What's the crime committed by Mr. A? Homicide. Kasi nga Article 4, Paragraph A. Okay? Pinahirapan ko lang kayo dito, no? Pero ginulo ko lang kayo, no? Can the prosecutor amend the original information and upgrade the charge to homicide? No. Because the amendment would vest jurisdiction to the court. Actually, let's analyze this one, no? Pero medyo pampagulo tong question ko na to. Sige, ganito. Tingnan niyo po Ano yung initial na chinard sa kanya? Less serious physical injuries ulit. Tapos ipapile mo sa RTC. Mali na agad dyan. Automatic dapat dismiss na agad ng court. Kasi dapat sa MTC mo final. Oh, after 10 days in the hospital, Mr. B died due to blood clots caused by the injuries. So you're telling me pwede kong i-amend. Di ba? Ngayon kasi homicide na. Di pwede ng RTC, di ba? Sabi ni Prosec, amend ko na lang po, Your Honor. No? Dati less serious na, mali man ako. O ngayon, okay na kasi namatay. O, may jurisdiction na yung court. Should this be permitted? No. Kasi initially, yung original information, walang jurisdiction over the offense charge in the unang information. Di ba? So, the amendment would vest jurisdiction to the court and that is not allowed kasi nung unang chance, unang opportunity, walang jurisdiction. So, you cannot vest jurisdiction later on kasi yung basis niya, wala nga at all. Diba? So ano ang remedy rito? I-dismiss mo i-withdraw mo yung kaso, mag-file ka ng bago. Hindi mo i-amin. Oh, okay. Oversight po, but kung na-file sa RTC, less serious physical injury. Less serious physical injuries yung crime. I would file a motion to withdraw. O later on, after 1 week o after 1 month, ipapile ko na yung corresponding information for homicide. O di okay na. Ganun po ang tamang remedy. O ngayon, attorney, would that constitute double violation of the right against double jeopardy? No. Kasi wala pang plea. And walang arraignment. And the RTC had no jurisdiction over the offense charge. So dun sa apat na requisites ng right against double jeopardy, ay sa multiple requisites ng right against double jeopardy, tatlo ang wala. Court of competent jurisdiction with respect to the first information, wala. RTC, dapat MTC yun. Walang arraignment, walang plea. O di walang double jeopardy. Kasi ganun ang tamang remedy. No? The remedy, lagay ko lang dito note, no? The proper remedy for the prosecution, no, was to fi file a motion to withdraw the information, no, charging less serious physical injuries, then file another information with the RTC for homicide. Ganun po ang style. No? Okay, next. Last one. Nailagay ko na rin pala dito, no? Tanggalin na natin ito, nailagay ko na pala dito. Okay? An information was filed with the RTC Manila even though the crime was committed in Makati. Can the prosecutor amend the venue of the commission of the crime as stated in the information and change it to City of Manila? Ang ibig kong sabihin dito, na-commit yung crime, okay, Makati dapat to. Ang ibig kong sabihin dito, nag-final po yung information sa RTC Manila. Na-commit po yung crime sa Makati. Alam naman po natin that venue is jurisdictional in criminal cases. So, mali po ang venue. Kasi dapat kung sa Makati kinamit ang crime, sa Makati may ipa-file yan ng RTC. So ngayon, sabi ni Prosec, Your Honor, i-amend ko na lang po. Mali po. Ay, okay. Manila nga to. Manila. An information was filed with the RTC. Ayan, okay. Okay. Even though the crime was committed in Makati as alleged. Ayan pala. In the information. Okay. Yan. So, ayan. Ibig ko po sabihin dito, information final sa RTC Manila. Pero under po sa allegations ng original information sa Makati na commit yung crime. Defective agad kasi the RTC Manila has no jurisdiction over the offense charge kasi mali ang venue. Sinabi mo na rin doon sa information sa ultimate facts na Makati. So dapat sa RTC Makati mo dapat final yan. So ngayon sabi ni Prosec, Your Honor, pwede bang baguhin ko na lang ang information? Instead na Makati yung nakasulat dyan, gawin kong Manila na lang. Parang ngayon, conforming na sa venue. I conform with the venue na, rules on venue. So, dati Makati, gagawin kong Manila ngayon, RTC Manila ko final, o di pasok na ako. Diba? Okay na. Is that allowed? No, because the amendment would also base jurisdiction with RTC Manila. Tama pala sinulat ko kanina. No? Yun po ibig ko sabihin. Okay? Hindi mo pwedeng i-amend. Kasi nung unang information, the original information, you had no jurisdiction. Kasi venue is jurisdictional in criminal cases and it was the incorrect venue. Mali yung venue. Di ba pwedeng i-amend yung venue, gawin mo tama kasi that would best jurisdiction with the RTC Manila. So in these instances, what is the proper remedy? Move for the withdrawal of the information and file a new information. Okay? With the proper court. No? Would this violate the right against double jeopardy? No, because the court had no jurisdiction over the offense charge and there is no arraignment and valid plea. There was no. Okay. Now let's go to after plea. Sa after plea, as I said, no, formal amendments. Ay, lalagay ko na rin pala ito muna before we go to the next topic. Lagyan natin dito sa next na ano. So you get the point na rin. So second, na when amendment before plea is not allowed. Number 2. Ay, amendment-based jurisdiction. To the court. There you go. Okay, let's move to the ano ulit. Okay, after plea, no? So ulitin natin, pag after plea, formal lang ang pwedeng amendment, no? But there is one instance where substantial amendment is allowed even after plea. Next principle, no? Hindi rin pwedeng mag-amend kung kahit formal, kung it causes prejudice to the rights of the accused. And lastly, pag po amendment after plea, in all instances, approval of the court is required. So, kailangan may leave of court palagi. Why? To make sure na formal lang po yung amendment, na hindi ka magsasubstantial. Okay, so let's go to the first muna, no? So, as stated, no? Ito yung gusto kong banggitin kanina. A formal amendment can be made after plea. Thus, can an amendment based on Section 7, Rule 117 be made after plea? Yes, because this amendment is only formal, which requires us to go back to the whiteboard again. Okay. So, ito yung binabanggit ko kanina. No? Amendment before plea. Okay. So, downgrade, substantial. Upgrade, general rule, substantial. Pero may exception, formal po kapag doctrine of supervening facts at saka discovered after. Ito yung Section 17, Rule 117. Okay, so punta tayo sa ano, another slide, another board. Sabihin natin amendment after plea. Sabihin natin, home, para mabilis na lang, frustrated homicide. Ito yung charge. Nagkaroon ng not guilty, nag-plead. During trial, dead. Dead, offended party. So ano ngayon ang mangyayari dyan? Consummated homicide na. 310. Can the info be amended? Yes. Kasi nga, kakasabi rin ng Section 7, Rule 117. O pagtahi-tahiin natin lahat ngayon, bakit po allowed yan? Why is this allowed? Na tinaas natin yung crime, no? Charge from frustrated to consummated. Dati, 1 degree lower. Ngayon, reclusion temporal na ako. Dati, prison mayor lang. Ngayon, reclusion temporal na ako. Isn't this substantial amendment? No. It is a formal amendment. As stated doon sa kaso ni People versus Degamo. O ngayon, let's dive deeper. Ano po ang dahilan? Why is Section 7, Rule 7, 117, a formal amendment? Specifically yung doctrine of supervening facts. Hindi ba dapat, formal amendment. Formal amendment. Try natin. Hindi ba dapat substantial yun at nabago nga yung crime entirely? Dati, person mayor lang ako. Ngayon, reclusion temporal na. No? Ay, bakit sa formal amendment? Kasi nga, you do not alter your theory. You do not. Same act or omission. Di ba? Same act or omission lang yan. Yun pa rin ang charge. So it's just that something happened. Something happened na hindi mo na makontrol as a prosecutor. Something happened after the filing. Di ba? Which now compels you to upgrade the information. Upgrade the charge in the information. You did not alter your you did not alter your theory at all. Same lang. Same story. It's just that due to unfortunate circumstances, namatay yung biktima. Outside of your control. Di ba? Wala kang binago. Wala kang binago at all. Yun lang din. Di ba? Mapaforesee mo ba to? That this would happen? Of course not. Di ba? Kaya po, formal amendment din yan. Anyway, ito ang dahilan ko dito. Ito ang reasoning ko. Pero kung if you do not make if you do not want to dive deeper na, nakalagay na rin naman sa kaso. To People versus Digamo, formal amendment lang siya. Because it does not prejudice the rights of the accused. Yun ang nakalagay dyan. Nabanggit ko na rin naman earlier yung People versus Digamo dun sa earlier nating discussion. No? So, yan po ang dahilan. No? Okay. Hmm. So, ito, no, sa exception tayo ngayon. Ito yung unang, ano, no, anyway, ito yung unang exception, no. When is a substantial amendment allowed even after plea? no? As exception, a substantial amendment is allowed even after pleading, even after the plea, if it is beneficial to the accused. Sabihin natin, oh, Your Honor, information, ang charge murder. Nag-plead ng not guilty yung yung accused. During trial, sabi ng Your Honor, parang gusto naming i-amend na lang yung kaso, downgrade namin from murder to homicide kasi di namin kayang patunayan yung treachery. Sabi lang, no, for theoretical purposes. Is that allowed? Yes. Kasi it would be beneficial to the accused. Malamang, hindi ka na mako-convict ng murder eh. Di ba? Instead na indivisible yung penalty mo, naging divisible na. Mas mababa pa. 1 degree lower. No? So yun, pwede. This is the limited instance where substantial amendment is allowed even after plea. O yung next exception naman tayo. No? When is formal amendment prohibited after plea? Ito yun, no? Should not prejudice the rights of the accused. Okay. So, ano po ibig sabihin ng provision? When it's stated, yung salitang it should not prejudice the rights of the accused o yung phrase. Ito po yan. The test as to whether a defendant is prejudiced by the amendment of the information is whether a defense under the original information would be available after the amendment is made. Okay. Yung bang depensa mo nung unang information, available pa din ba nung inamend ng information? Or hindi na available? Pag available pa, okay. You can make the formal amendment even after plea. Pero pag yung defense, nawala. Pag yung defense, nawala. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-formal amendment even after plea. Kasi it now prejudiced the rights of the accused. Meron akong mahabang example na nilagay dito kasi hinango ko siya sa kaso. Ganito lang yan, napakasimple. As I said earlier, no, gawa ulit tayo ng whiteboard. Basahin niyo na lang to, no, yung ay, ito pala. Ayan, hindi ko ata nailipat. So ito, no, when is a substantial amendment allowed even after plea? Beneficial to the accused. Pwede. The-downgrade natin from murder to homicide. Pwede kang mag-substantial amendment. That's a substantial amendment kasi nabago yung theory, di ba? Pero allowed yan kasi beneficial sa accused, no? So when is a formal amendment prohibited after plea? When it prejudiced the rights of the accused. What's the test to determine if it will prejudice the rights of the accused? If a defense under the original information is still available after the amendment was made. Yung depensa mo ba before, available pa din dun sa amended information? Pag hindi na, prohibited. Okay? Pag available pa din, allowed. Okay? So, meron akong mahabang example po dito. No? Mahabang examples. I want to make it short. I want to make things short and concise for all of us. Okay. So, ayan, no? After ito substitution na, let's illustrate, no? Sabihin natin, ayan, sabihin natin, ay, prejudice, di ba? Rights. As I said earlier, inclusion of a co-conspirator is a formal amendment. Why? Kasi, di ba dati, people versus A. Ngayon, people versus A and B na. Hindi naman nabago yung theory mo with respect to A eh. Yung pa rin. Principal ka before. Principal ka ngayon. So, walang substantial amendment na nangyari because the theory was not altered. Ngayon, how can there be prejudice do sa rights ng accused even if formal amendment to? Sabihin natin, di ba dati, people versus A. So ngayon si A nag-not guilty. Not guilty, ang defense niya, self-defense. I am not guilty do sa crime. Kasi I merely defended my person, myself, from the attack of the deceased. Sabihin natin. Ngayon, naging people versus A and B. Tapos, ang sabi ng prosecution, conspirator kayong dalawa. Again, ulitin ko, this is a formal amendment. Kasi, same lang naman ang principal si A. Yung present, yung accused nung original information na principal, ganun pa rin naman ngayon. Accused sa principal pa din. Okay. Pero, would this be allowed? No. Kasi yung defense mo na self-defense, hindi na siya available pag sinabi mong may conspiracy kayo. Diba? Self-defense, to example and conspiracy are totally opposite. Totally opposite sila. Pag sinabi mong self-defense, wala kang criminal design. Walang intent. No intent. Pag sinabi mong may conspiracy ka, you agreed to commit the crime, di ba? So how can A now say that he merely defended himself kung ang bagong information, meron na silang criminal design to commit a crime. Di ba? May intention na sila to commit the crime. So nawala yung defense niya before dahil doon sa amended information. So in this scenario, amendment, even if formal, is prohibited. Okay? Yeah. May iba pa tayong mga examples dito, no? Just read this, no? Them, no? Okay, so let's go to substitution, no? So if it appears at any time before judgment that a mistake has been made in charging the proper offense, mistake means totally separate and distinct yung subsequent charge at saka yung former charge, no? The court shall dismiss the original complaint or information upon the filing of a new one in accordance with Section 19, Rule 119. What does Section 19, Rule 119 provide? In case there is substitution, in case there is mistake in charging the proper offense, the accused shall not be discharged if there appears good cause to detain him. In such case, the court shall commit the accused to answer for the proper offense and dismiss the original case upon the filing of the proper information. Would the right against double jeopardy be violated? No. Kasi the second jeopardy will never attach since the new charge is distinct from the former charge. Magkaiba sila. No? Okay. Sige. Examples, no? Theft is necessarily included in estafa. So, hindi mistake yan. Pag ang original charge mo, estafa, pwede mo makonvict yung tao for theft. Specifically qualified theft. Pwede. No, estafa, ang original charge, necessarily included dyan yung qualified theft. Robbery, necessarily included dyan ang theft din. Murder, necessarily included dyan ang homicide. Parricide, necessarily included dyan ang homicide. Parricide, necessarily included dyan ang murder. Parricide ang pinakamatindi, mas matindi, no? Okay. Slight physical injuries is necessarily included in child abuse. No? So either or yan. I remember may kasong inassign sa amin yung napahiya yung bata daw sa prosesyon kasi nilecture nung matanda. Kinasuhan ng child abuse. Pero sabi wala naman doon intent to degrade, debase, demean the intrinsic worth and dignity of the child. So hindi ka pwedeng mag-convict ng child abuse kasi walang intent to degrade. So ano ngayon daw ang crime committed by the accused? Slight physical lang daw. O de yun. So that implies na ang slight physical injuries necessarily included in child abuse. Okay. Rape and qualified seduction are not identical offenses. Why? Kasi ang rape, ito po ang mga elements, no? Force or intimidation, deprive of reason, when the woman is under 12. Ito po bago na to, no? Kasi kaso to 1994 case. So, alam naman natin na sa criminal law to binago na, no? Mas mataas na ngayon 'yan. 'Di ba? Mas mataas na ngayon 'yan. Under 16 na. Okay. Meanwhile, sa seduction, virgin, unmarried and of good reputation, di ba? Had sexual intercourse, may abuse of authority, and so on. While the two felonies have one common element, which is carnal knowledge, they significantly vary in all other respects. No? Walang force, walang intimidation, walang deprive of reason, walang unconscious, meron virgin, unmarried, good reputation, di ba? Yun ibig sabihin nung, ay, virgin which is presumed if she is unmarried and of good reputation, di ba? Walang abuse of authority, walang mga ganun. So, sa ibang mga elements, ibang-iba sila. Thus, the dismissal of the charge for qualified seduction is clearly sanctioned by Section 14, Rule 110, in order to pave the way for the filing of the proper offense for the crime of rape. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin na nung dinismiss yung qualified seduction, first jeopardy yun, tapos nung nag-file ng information for rape, second jeopardy yun. No. Hindi natin pwedeng sabihin that the right against double jeopardy was violated. Kasi nga, they are totally distinct crimes. Kasi nga, may isa lang silang common element, yung sexual intercourse. Other than that, ibang-iba eh. May sinabi bang virgin sa rape? May sinabi bang abuse of authority, confidence, or relationship sa rape? Wala. Ang sabi dyan, force, intimidation, deprive of reason, otherwise unconscious, demented, may mga ganyan dyan, di ba? Wala pong ano, walang sinabing ganyan, no? Okay. Sige. So, apat na scenarios. For substitution, there can be no double jeopardy. Kasi nga, entirely separate ang crimes, no? There can never be double jeopardy in formal amendments because the original charge is not considered dismissed. So, nagkaroon ng formal amendment, the first jeopardy will never be terminated since a formal amendment does not terminate a case. So, the first jeopardy may attach. How does it attach? May valid information, court of competent jurisdiction, valid arraignment and plea. But the first jeopardy cannot be terminated through a formal amendment kasi nga hindi naman nata-terminate yung kaso by a formal amendment. For substantial amendments, if it was made after plea, there is double jeopardy. Kasi pag after plea, no? Dismiss na yung original information. Yung bagong information, that's another information. So, yung original information na na-amend, deemed acquitted. O, yung bagong information, the substantial amendment, it necessarily includes the crime in the original information. O, di may double jeopardy. Pasok. May first jeopardy kasi nagkaroon ng plea, arraignment, court of competent jurisdiction, saka sabihin natin may court of competent jurisdiction saka valid information. Na-terminate yung first jeopardy kasi the amendment is tantamount to an acquittal. And the new information, the amended information, the second jeopardy is attached because it necessarily includes or is necessarily included in the original charge. Now, if the substantial amendment was made before plea, there can be no double jeopardy. Kasi pag before plea, edi walang plea. And then the first jeopardy will never attach. Apat, di ba? Court of competent jurisdiction, valid information, valid arraignment, valid plea. O di wala arraignment and plea. Hindi pa nakakapag-plea eh. Di ba? Sana po malinaw. Okay? Let's go to the next topic, no? Venue of criminal action. So ilang ulit ko na sinasabi, venue is jurisdictional in criminal cases. The proper ground to quash the information pag mali ang venue, lack of jurisdiction over the offense charged, no? So general rule, where do we file the information, no? Where the offense was committed or any of its essential ingredients occurred. Dito po mahalaga yung tinatawag na continuing crimes. Sabihin natin, BP22, i-file ang kaso ay na dishonor ang cheque sa Manila, inisyo ang cheque sa Makati. Continuing crime po 'yan. Kasi the essential ingredients of the crime took place in different places. It took place in different places. Isa sa Manila, isa sa Makati. Oh. You can file the action, you can institute the action in any. of these cities. Pwedeng sa Manila, pwedeng sa Makati. Okay. Exceptions, no? Subject to existing laws. Yan ang unang exception. Mayroon po kasi tayo mga special law na sinasabi na agad kung saan may file yung kaso. Tandaan nyo, venue to. Hindi RTC. Hindi MTC. We're talking about the Manila side. Okay? Parang civil procedure lang. We're not talking about the RTC side in this scenario. Venue na to. We're talking about the Manila side. Kasi RTC side, natakal na natin earlier. Sa BP 129, di ba? R8, PD 1606, PD 1606, doon po yun. And meron din mga special laws saying na RTC talaga. Like libel. O, RTC talaga yan. Illegal recruitment, RTC talaga yan. And so on. Now, special laws naman tayo ulit, no? But now we're talking about venue na. Sa libel, iba rin po ang venue. May special na siyang provision para sa sinong court o anong court ang mag-handle ng kaso. Meron din siyang special provision for venue. Ano nakasulat? If one of the offended parties is a private individual, so the information must be instituted in the court of the place, no, where the article is printed and first published or where he resides. Kapag public official, where the article is printed and first published or where the official holds office at the time of the commission of the crime. Pag cybercrime, ayan, pakibasa na lang po. Pag cyber libel, in the case of Bonifacio versus RTC Makati, the venue is limited to the place where the complainant actually resides at the time of the commission of the offense. No? Tinanggal po yung mga first publish, etc. Kasi ang hirap po. Kasi digital age, social media. Napaka-convenient para sa napaka-convenient para sa complainant. Sabihin natin, nakita ko yung post sa Davao. Sa Davao ko ipapile. Sobrang hirap siya para sa accused. Yung accused taga Baguio. Diba? Sobrang hirap nun. Pupuntahan pa niya lagi. Kaya po, in the case of Bonifacio versus RTC Makati, in case of cyber libel, kung saan na lang nakatira yung complainant at the time of the commission of the offense. No? And DP22, kasi nga, siya, continuing crime. No? Pwedeng sa na-dishonor, pwedeng sa na-issue. Migrant Workers Act in the RA 8042, nakalagay dyan, option to file it in his place of residence or in the place where the crime was committed. Special mention dyan yung place of residence. No? Why? Kasi mayroon po mga instance ganito. Sabihin natin, taga-probinsya yung gusto mag-OFW. Taga-Sorsogon, sabihin natin. Tapos yung bigay ng pera ng placement fee naganap sa Pasay, sabihin natin. O ngayon, nung ibinigay niya yung placement fee dun sa recruiter, yung recruiter, tumakbo. Naglaho ng parang bula, hindi na nagpakita, hindi na si kasi papel nila, yung visa, wala. Kinuha lang yung pera, tinangay. May dalawang kaso dyan. And both can be filed, no? Kasi nga, they are separate and distinct crimes. Una, estafa. Malamang, may tinakbo yung pera eh. Di ba? Nag-misrepresent siya na he or she has the authority to recruit and place persons abroad. Okay yan. Next case is illegal recruitment. So, ngayon, ito na po yan. Kasi, kung taga-Sorsogon yung mag-OFW, napakahirap naman kung dapat ifa-file niya yung kaso sa Pasay. Napakahirap. Di ba? Galing sa Sorsogon, ibinigay niya yung pera sa Pasay. O saan na-commit ang crime? Sa Pasay. O, uwi na Sorsogon. Paano makakapag-file? Napakahirap naman. No? Every time may kaso, luluwasin niya sa Pasay yun. Kaya po yung RA 8042 naglagay ng another venue, place of residence. So pwede ka mag-file sa Sorsogon. Okay? Bausi, AAA versus BBB, very important, no? Bihin natin, OFW yung husband, yung wife na naiwan sa Philippines, no? Bihin natin, may, no? May kabit, no? May sexual infidelity na nangyari abroad between the husband and sabihin natin yung kanyang coworker. Nalaman nung asawa, nagkaroon ng mental distress. no? Nagkaroon siya ng stress, psychological distress. Oh, psychological violence 'yan under RA 9262. O ngayon sabi nung husband, eh di ba kinumit ko yung sexual infidelity abroad, eh di dapat hindi yan covered ng Philippine jurisdiction kasi the crime was committed in abroad. So dapat kung magkaaroon ng kaso sa abroad, hindi sa Philippines. Is that a correct argument? No. Why? Because mental anguish is one of the essential elements of RA 9262, yung psychological violence. Where did the mental anguish happened? Where did the mental where did the mental anguish happen? In the Philippines. Kasi si wife nasa Philippines. O di pag yan nagkaroon ng distress and psychological distress, asan siya na stress? Nasa Pilipinas siya. So, the case can be filed in the Philippines kasi one of the essential ingredients, it happened in the Philippines. Kahit na yung pangangabit, nangyari sa ibang bansa. Okay, I leave you with the rest dito sa ibang mga special laws, no? Like itong anti-trafficking, no? Sige. Actually, di na Human Security Act ngayon, no? Pwede ka na i-delete to, anti-terror law na ngayon. Okay. Ito, next topic, no? Trains, aircraft, vehicles in the course of its trip, no? So, it can be instituted and tried in the municipality or territory where it passed during its trip, including the place of arrival and departure. Pakitandaan po, tren, PNR, LRT, MRT, aircraft, so you know the famous aircraft companies, airlines, vehicles, whether PUV, private vehicle, in the course of its trip and can be instituted and tried in the municipality or territory where it passed during its trip. Bihin natin, nagkaroon ng holdapan. Nagsimula yung holdapan sa Makati, bumaba yung holdupper sa Manila. Pwede mo i-file yung kaso sa Makati, pwede mo i-file yung kaso sa Manila. No? Kasi the jeepney, it passed in Makati, it passed from Makati to Manila during its trip. Okay? O ngayon, pahirapan natin ng konti. Sabihin natin, ang ruta nung jeep, Taguig hanggang QC. Kung may ganun mang ruta. Okay. Sumaka yung hold-upper ng hold-up sa Makati, bumaba sa Maynila. Pwede ba i-file yung kaso sa Taguig? Yes, kasi place of, ano yun, departure nung jeep. Kahit na hindi po nagsimula dun yung crime. Nagsimula yung crime sa Makati. Sa Taguig yung place of departure. Kailan natapos yung crime? Sa Maynila. Pwede mo i-file yung kaso sa QC? Pwede din. Kasi place of arrival naman yun. O, di ba? See? May apat na places doon. Place of arrival, place where the hold up, where the robbery incident commenced, place where the robbery incident ended, at saka place of arrival. Sa apat po na yun, pwede kang mag-file kahit saan. Siyempre, of course, the court that the court that assumes jurisdiction over the action, di ba? Shall assume jurisdiction, the court where the case is filed will assume jurisdiction to the exclusion of all the other courts. So, pag na-file na yun sa Taguig, Makati, Manila, and QC will not exercise jurisdiction anymore to the exclusion of these other three cities, no? Okay. Pero yun, pwede sa apat. Place of departure, where the robbery commence, robbery incident, robbing incident. Tingnan natin, no? Tingnan natin. Baka robbery incident. Robbery incident. Okay, tama naman pala ako. Okay, robbing incident. Okay. Yun, no? Pwedeng sa place where the robbery incident ended, di ba? Sa Manila. Pwede rin naman place of arrival, no? So, it even extended yung essential ingredients part. Kasi essential ingredients lang po doon sa Makati at saka Manila lang. Yun lang essential ingredient eh. Di ba? Continuing naman nga yung crime. Kasi, pre, kasi holdapan yun eh. Mahaba-haba. Mga 30 minutes na holdapan. So, nakapunta ng dalawang cities. That's a continuing crime. Di ba? Kasi, it happened in multiple places. Pero hindi na po nangyari yan sa Taguig at saka sa QC. Pero under Section 15 Rule 110, included din kasi nga including the place of arrival and departure. So it even extended the general rule na any of its essential ingredients, it even extended it. Okay. Same thing din po sa vessel. Ganun din. Pero I would like to annotate po, no? Ang ibig po sabihin ng first port of entry is first port of arrival. Sabihin natin, ang ruta ng vessel from Port of Manila to Port of Cebu. Ang first port of entry po niyan, Cebu. Okay? Ang first port of exit, Manila. Hmm. Pero pwede mo i-file sa Manila yung kaso? Pwede. Dito naman kasi. Because it passed Manila during its voyage. Okay? So, pwede naman either way kahit sa ang port mo i-file, Manila or Cebu. It's just that you need to properly distinguish which is which. First port of entry, Cebu. Passed during its voyage, Manila. Okay, subject to GAPIL. What does this mean? Ang ibig po sabihin nito yung French rule under the criminal law. Under criminal law. French rule, English rule. No? Pag may foreign merchant vessel during, in the territorial sea, so under UNCLOS 3, ang under the UNCLOS 3 po, ang governing rule na ngayon, French rule na, hindi English. UNCLOS 3 na po ang nagsabi niyan. Matatakil po ito sa criminal law din at saka sa Consti 1, no? Political law. So, paano pag foreign merchant vessel nasa territorial sea, yung general rule, hindi mag-a-assume ng jurisdiction unless it affects the peace and order of the coastal state. Yun po ibig sabihin ng subject to GAPIL na yan. So, kung yung vessel, foreign merchant vessel, nasa territorial sea, hmm, territory ng Pilipinas yun. It passed the territory of the Philippines. But subject to generally accepted principles of international law po. So general rule is the Philippines will not assume jurisdiction over the offense. Kung ano may nangyari doon sa offense na nangyari. Ano man yung nangyari sa vessel na yan. Nagnakawan sila doon sa loob ng foreign merchant vessel and so on. General rule, no jurisdiction ng Philippines. Okay, last. Article 2 of the Revised Penal Code. Ito po yung crimes committed outside the Philippines but punishable under Article 2. So ano yan, di ba? Subject to treaties and laws of preferential application, the provisions of this act shall be enforced not only within the Philippine archipelago, its atmosphere, its kalimutan ko na, territorial, nakalimutan ko, maritime zone yung isa dun eh. Its atmosphere, its territorial sea, mali ako doon. Its atmosphere, its interior waters. Okay. And the maritime zone. Kasi nga pala interior waters, yun yung archipelagic waters. Yung maritime zone, yun yung territorial sea. But also outside of its jurisdiction against those who commit a crime while in a Philippine ship or airship, yung forge ng coin, no? Introduction, forge ng coin, counterfeit ng coin, introduction into this country nitong counterfeit, no? And so on. Tapos, yung crimes committed by public officer in relation to their office at saka yung last is crimes against national security and crimes against the law of nations. No? So, ang gusto kong i-highlight dyan yung Philippine ship or airship at saka yung last, yung crimes against national security saka laws of nation. Doon muna tayo sa crimes against laws of nation. Ibig ko sabihin yan, piracy yun. Okay, piracy yun. Ang piracy po, it can be punished anywhere. It can be punished anywhere. Kahit na nakomit yung crime sa Africa, tapos yung vessel, sabihin natin, American vessel, tapos yung offender saka offended party, Chinese at saka Japanese. pwede pa rin po i-prosecute sa Philippines yan. Kasi piracy is a crime against humanity. Anywhere it can be prosecuted. Okay, next. Crimes against national security. Treason, espionage, violation of neutrality, yung mga ganyan. Misprision of treason, conspiracy and proposal to commit treason, correspondence to hostile country, mga ganyan. Yan, kahit sabihin natin, OFW, may war between Philippines and another state. Yung OFW, doon nagtatrabaho sa State A, yung kalaban ng Philippines. Tinulungan niya yung State A. Binigyan ng armaments, binigyan ng bala, binigyan ng baril. Treason yun. Kahit na kinumit po yung crime abroad, do sa State A, the Philippines has jurisdiction. Okay? Over the crime. Kasi nasa Article 2 po, di ba? Not only within the Philippine archipelago, its atmosphere, its interior waters and maritime zone, but also outside of its jurisdiction. Sa labas. Like yun sa State A. Okay? May jurisdiction po ang Philippines. Kasi nga, it's a crime against national security. Ngayon, ano po ang court na may proper venue? Anywhere in the Philippines where it is first filed. Malamang nasa ibang bansa di ba? No? Cognizable by the court, so anywhere in the Philippines where the criminal action is first filed. And this court assumes jurisdiction to the exclusion of all other courts. Okay? Sige, next. Yung Philippine ship or airship. Sabihin natin, yung airship ano ba? Airplane palanding na sa US. Pinatay nung passenger yung stewardess sa loob, yung flight attendant. May jurisdiction po ba ang Philippines? Yes. Because the crime was committed in a Philippine airship. Kahit po yung airship nasa US territory na, may jurisdiction pa rin ng Philippines. Okay, kasi nga under Article 2. Oh. Saan ang venue? Court where the criminal action is first filed anywhere in the Philippines. And the court which assumes jurisdiction, and the court where the case is filed assumes jurisdiction to the exclusion of all other courts. Sana po malinaw. No? Sige. Okay. For the next video, Rule 111 na tayo. No? Rule 111 na tayo. Sige, see you there.